Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Good Stuff. I'm Kevin Bille, and as always, we appreciate you joining us. Well, here we are, episode 80 in the new year, and today we are joined by Ganon Baker. Ganon is a pro basketball and global player development coach. Ganon, what's going on?
Oh, loving life, living the dream, man. I got basketball, I got my beach, and I got my babies down here, man, my family. So it's a good life.
Well, hey, we're looking forward to having you today. I'm lucky because I get to hop on here and talk to a bunch of leaders like yourself, Ganon, and you know there's all kinds of attributes that stick out, and the one I got to go in with you right away that sticks out to me is energy. Like, you just have consistent energy, and I love it. I want to know, where does all this energy come from?
That's a great question. I think I was given a gift of energy. I think I was given a gift of passion, because that's, as you know, that's one of the hardest things to teach, is to give somebody a heart for something, to give somebody a mindset for something. I got to give all credit to God. I mean, I think that's one of the gifts he's given me, is a love, for life. No matter what happens, a love for basketball. I've been playing and coaching the game since I was 8, and I'm 49 currently here. And, age is undefeated, but I'm gonna call this bluff. And every day I wake up, man, just trying to impact and be the best I can be. But I really, really love life, and I love basketball, and that's where that energy comes from. And as you know, man, as a leader, you can't teach what you don't possess. And a lot of things that I see now, especially in the world we live in, is people are down in the dungeon of despair, and the one thing they need is just a jolt of hope and energy and passion, and that'll get them to that next step. And so if I can demonstrate that, model that at a high level, that might help them on their way.
That's good. That's good. Let's talk about that love. I want to stay right there. Why do you love basketball so much?
Great question, because you can't do it alone. You know what I mean? Like, you can be as great as you can be, but you're never going to get anything out of the team or the game unless you use others. It's a fast-paced game where you got to think cognitively as well as motorly. It's motor and cognitive development. It changes at every level. I played JV, high school, Division I college, professional, had a tryout with the Denver Nuggets. It's the same game, but it's different on every level. And then, unbeknownst to me, obviously I fell in love with the game early because it was fun, and it was something that I could practice on by myself. So there's a quick turnaround. There's a high retention level if you put in the time. I always tell kids, repetition is the mother of success. Grit is the father of success. But unbeknownst to me, what basketball has given me, why I loved it and why I still love it, is number one, the relationships you get from it, because you're playing with 5, but you live with 13. You know what I mean? And that coach, if he's good and holistic, and he has that passion and desire, he can teach you how to win in life as well as, the game. And so the the relationships you build through basketball changes your life, and the lessons that you learn from the process of trying to win changes your life. And I didn't know that until I started coaching. And I started coaching at the age of 18 at 5-star as a summer job, to earn some money. And I fell in love with it, became a college coach like yourself. And now here I am as a, old OG player development coach, trying to still do it.
5-star, man. Those were the days. Well, man, you nailed it. I love it. Like, I just, everything you said there with the relationships and, yeah, the fast-paced game. It's good. It's really good. I want to touch base here. I mean, gosh, you've been, I think you said, like 49 countries, 5 continents. I mean, what an amazing experience that the game has taken you to all these places. I'm not going to really ask you maybe to boil it down to one, but could you give me maybe 2 to 3 biggest takeaways from your experience from traveling around the world, just through the game of basketball? And I don't care if that applies to the game specifically or even to the game of life.
Well, number one, the biggest thing I've learned is that basketball is universal, that you might be part of a different culture. You might speak a different language. You might even have a different mindset. You know, I've been in communist countries and there's a different way they think, you know what I mean? And I've been in countries that aren't communist and that have freedom. But basically, basketball brings people together. The common bond that I always had, going to the Philippines, going to Australia, going to Jordan, going to China, you know, going to Puerto Rico, like they all love the game. They all bleed red. And so they're human beings. They love basketball. Let me go impact.
Yeah.
There's our connection. So like so many people are shy because they're around strangers. They are cool because they don't want to be called out. They're afraid they might offend. To an extent, maybe it's hurt me at some times, but I was never afraid of what people thought of me. I was the only white dude growing up playing basketball at an all African-American junior high and high school. I would find myself the only American in China at times all month. I never saw another American. So I was always different. And what I, as a leader, what I always drew on is, look, they're human beings. So we're brothers, right? They have red blood, I have red blood. God created us both. So we're family. And number two, I was self-aware enough to draw upon their passion for basketball. So I fed that and they fed off mine. And rather quickly, Kevin, I'm talking about within hours, within a day, I became really, really close with so many people around the world. And I was able to not speak at them, but now I can speak into them. And I truly believe, and if any leaders out there listening to me, if you have the right heart set and mindset, man, you can change lives in an hour. You have to believe that. You have to believe that God gave you an unbelievable ability, but you got to prepare. You know, you got to be obedient. And if you're obedient, now you have the freedom to impact lives and to really connect in a short amount of time. And that's the one thing that surprised me is that, you know, after doing this 21 years, man, I'm getting letters, I'm getting videos, I'm getting information from people. I even forgot that I went there, saying they remembered the 2-hour workout, you know, in Austria that I did and how it made them feel. And so, you know, that was a big takeaway, is that, you know, that connection, being human and passion, you got to use that as a leader. And number two, success is colorblind and gender free. You know what I mean? Like so many paradigms, and we put labels on people. And if they work hard enough, if they believe enough, if they have the right, support system around them, they can make it. And, there's so much self-doubt in the Philippines and self-doubt in China because they're short athletes and and I just told them and helped them believe, and it gave them, witnesses and evidence that, hey, if you work hard enough, success is colorblind and gender free. Doesn't matter where you come from, you can make it. Might be harder, but you can make it. So that's just great question. That's what's coming to me right now. Those two takeaways.
I'm gonna hit the pause button here. Comment first thing. You said something I think is really powerful for leaders to pay attention to. You said if you don't speak at them, but you speak into them, that's huge. I mean, that's something that probably when you're young as a leader, you don't understand, but I think that's a transformational thing, not a transactional thing, right? Now, the next thing is, I think this is a very powerful statement, and don't take this as me questioning you. I want you to dive into this a little bit more, Ganon. You can change lives in an hour. You said, as long as you prepare and you're obedient. Give us a little bit more there. Like, I don't want to stop there, because that's really, really hard to do in 1 hour, but obviously you're doing it. Give me a little bit more how. Like, if I'm listening to this right now, like, I'm holding on to that statement. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me, like, how am I preparing for that? How am I being obedient to that so I'm able to do that? Because if we got people listening to that and they're able to take something away from this, that's a big part of this message, I would think.
Yeah. So whatever you do, you're in that environment, and basically you bring your holistic self. So physically, you gotta have a presence. You gotta have it. You gotta be in shape. I mean, you don't have to look like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you and me, we're in shape. So the energy, the enthusiasm, you connect, you get their attention, the charisma. So physically, now for me, I do illustrations all the time. Jesus to me was one of the most greatest teachers, if not the greatest teacher to ever live, because he could speak life with his words, and then he could change lives with his body. Basically, he demonstrated, he performed miracles. So for me, first thing I do is I get their attention with my energy, 2-ball dribbling, push-ups, shooting, different illustrations with the ball. Somehow you got to physically get their attention. And then mentally, unseen hours. Are you preparing? What is your audience need? What's their kryptonite? And then whatever kryptonite that you speak of or they have, then you got to give them solutions. So you got to be well-versed in problem solutions. Then it's your communication. Are you clear? Are you consistent? Do you speak with conviction? Are you charismatic? Are you competent? I'll call it my 5 C's of communication. So it's how you flow. You're like a rapper up there. You're like an actor. You're like a Broadway thespian, man. Like you're flowing. You're in the zone. You don't stutter. You don't mince words. You're very clear. So you get their attention. For me, I've always in some countries I've had an interpreter, and the impact that I had wasn't as good because you had to pause and wait. So it's basically staying in the flow with your communication. And then emotionally, I think, again, I just feel sometimes people are anointed by God to get into people's hearts. Now, if you're not, you got to work on that. And so it's meeting them where they're at. It's eye contact. It's honestly, one thing that's helped me is I've always been very transparent and vulnerable about, here are some times in my life where I was a screw up. Because I think as leaders, if you don't have to tell everybody your darkest, deepest secrets, because then you show, I just don't think people always need to hear everything you struggle with. But I do share a lot of my hang-ups and hookups that I've had that have, that have hurt me and caused tremendous pain and loss. And so vulnerability breeds courage. And so they see that it's okay to mess up. I tell parables, I tell stories. Emotionally, you just let it all out, and that somehow connects with them. I spoke to a church in Laredo and talked to them about one of the most painful times of my life was a previous marriage and divorce. And, here I am, a man of God, speaking in front of church, and never met these people. And the Holy Spirit led to me about, God calls the rookies, the renegades, and the rejects. God calls people who are weak or have been weak so that he can get the glory when you are strong. And I talked about, and I don't even read the Bible as deep as I need to, but I talked about some of the disciples that he called that were, rejected, and that today we would troll them on Twitter, and yet they changed the world for God's kingdom. And that resonated with about 10 people. And afterwards, that's all they talked about, is how they connected with, and then how human I was, explaining that. So, and the last one is spiritually, man, I pray. Every day I have solitude. I sweat and have solitude. That's how I try to become that avenger in this life we're living in, to help others. Because to me, I've been given gifts. I've been given opportunities. My job is to help people who sometimes can't help themselves. So it's my responsibility to cover me, with a breastplate of righteousness, to cover me with, to have a sword of the Spirit, to, belt of truth, the shoes of peace, the breastplate of righteousness. Like I pray and I ask God, man, look, help me change lives. I don't care if I get another gig. I don't care if they like me. I don't care if they follow me, but I want them to respect me, and I want to confront and help them come build their character and help them find solutions. And so basically physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that's what you should be preparing on daily or weekly as a leader, different steps, solutions, and strategies on how you can help others. And it's hard to do in a public forum, public speaking. And obviously you make the impact mentoring. And that's what I do a lot of now, is that one-on-one, two-on-two, mentoring. But because Kevin, look, a guy named Austin Lehman and George Lehman came to speak at a camp, changed my life. A guy named Sean Miller brought me to the side at camp at 5-star, changed my life. The movie Rocky 2 changed my life. The book, The Purpose-Driven Life, I read that in a couple days. It changed my life. So last thing I'll say, I know I'm rambling. I hope I'm not rambling. But look, if people's lives aren't changed because they're not putting anything into them, if you want your life to be changed, you have to be open to it. You have to be open-minded. Walt Whitman said, don't be judgmental, be curious. So many people have the wrong perception of that person speaking, and they can't have that reception. Because if the way you perceive something is what you're going to receive. So number one, I get a lot out of my events because I put a lot into it. The people that have been impacted at my events, they expect something from it. They put something in it. The people that don't go to my events, well, I didn't get a lot out of Ganon Baker's workout because you didn't put a lot into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's that lesson that when kids come to me, man, I'm transferring. I didn't get a lot out of that program. Because guess what, Layman, you didn't put a lot into it, man. You reap what you sow. So, hey, let's go coach right now. Let's go. Who needs coaching? Let's go work out.
We're 20 minutes in, man, and there's a ton of good stuff, man. A couple things that are just sticking out to me, and what you just said there when we were talking about some of these takeaways. I love the connection piece. I think that's huge right now. You talked about clarity. Any leader that is out there, if you can figure out clarity and simplicity with you and your team, you are gold. I'm telling you right now, clarity and simplicity are the two most difficult things I think to tackle. Love everything that you're talking about from a faith aspect. And I could sit on here all day, and I've probably done it. It's probably been redundant to the audience, but I'm not going to stop, Ganon. This transparency vulnerability train, I'm all about it. I love it. I think it's everything. And I think more people should be about it as well. I want to shift now into some of the basketball stuff. The one thing I heard you say, because I want to talk about these workouts, you engage the players with sweat. If you make them sweat, sometimes you got to sweat with them. All right, we're having a little bit of recording issues here. I want to go into the workout part. You had a quote here, and I don't know if this was redundant or cut off. But you said something before. You engage the players with some sweat. If you want them to sweat, sometimes you've got to sweat with them, right? That's what you kind of alluded to before. You get in there and you got to mix it up. So I want to know, what makes a great workout? Just simply put, you get to go in, you got 1 hour, the hour's done. If I were to say, you got this hour, tell me what's going to make this a great workout, regardless of the level, regardless of the skill set, what's going to make it a great workout?
Short term, like real time in the workout, their heart rate is up. There's no wasted time. They get better at their role, whatever their role is, whether it's YMCA, WNBA, NBA. You've given them real reps on their role. Mm-hmm. And with those reps, it's not a fine line, but I love robotic reps. Dribble, 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 shoot, shoot, shoot. No thinking, just cut to this spot, shoot, dribble against this cone. I call those robotic reps. Those are great for your fundamentals and mechanics. But in my opinion, and again, I had this at an early age, so it wasn't like I had to learn this later. This was one of my secret sauces. I always help kids get reads. that's where I come in. That's where the Tim Gergerich, you know what I mean? Spirit, one of the guys that I first saw work out. And I'm like, okay, well, that's how you work out, is that I guard them. I give them closeouts. I guard them off pick and rolls. I defensive slide on their bounce, or I give them contact with my body. So I give them, a great workout to me is it's game speed, and you're working on game shots, right? From their role and game spots. And you add the IQ into it. You have them make the right decision. You're working on a move, and then let's go add defense. You're working on a cut, and let's go add defense. You're working on a finish, and let's go add defense. So that's it. And then the last one is they got to have energy. They got to treat you like a teammate. Do they talk and touch? Do they talk and touch? Winning teams talk, winning teams touch.
Yeah.
And then recently, in the last, I would say 6-7 years, I've had a lot of players that had more anxiety than I've been used to. I've had a lot more players self-sabotage, whether it's an open gym or a full gym. They just have meltdowns versus mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's as a coach, is getting them not to work out in quicksand, so to speak, and get to the next play and be positive and have amnesia on that mistake, and make sure we finish the workout strong. Long term, it's hopefully I've taught them how to win in life and win in basketball. So every workout, we always start and or finish with something that we can relate to in life. And it might be even during the workout. I might see something that the kids, a lot of times it's emotional. And I'll say, hey, in life now, if you do this, you'll get fired. Or in life, if you do this, that's going to get you an unbelievable job. That's how you're going to change your community, acting like this. Good job, Creighton. Keep that up, brother, because you're going to be a king one day acting like that in the real world. So always bring in real world, so they just don't feel like it's just about basketball. Because I don't know if you know this stat. This is true. They teach this at the rookie camps. 80% of NBA players within 4 to 5 years are either broke, depressed, have some kind of situational marital problems, divorced, or in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's and you can take that stat and just apply it to regular men. You know what I mean? And so I always think about that. And look, they're more than just a player.
Yeah.
Let me teach them the lessons of the process that we're having through basketball. Now let's show them how they can apply that to life. And that helps me as a human being. I'm 49. I'm still following people. I'm not the leader I need to be. I'm 49. I'm still an idiot at certain things. So that helps me remind myself. That's self-talk for me. People say, Ganon, why do you read so much and get motivated and learn all this stuff? Because as I'm saying it, I'm talking to myself too. I mean, a lot of times I'll teach from weakness. And I'll say that, look, man, I was awful at this, but I have to address this, but I'm speaking from weakness because I need to get better at this too. Hey, we need to be more unselfish. We need to be more self-aware, man. So it's like, it's that, man, that life thing, that character, you got to bring it in. And, you know what I mean? And here's the problem, Kevin, if we're being transparent, there's so many positive coaching alliances, so many churches out there. And people skip over the confrontational stuff. People and what we do, look at our clients as customers. And I look at my clients as my players. I don't care if you come back or not. I'm gonna deliver this. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? And so many people skip over the things that people really need to hear. And so that's something, man, I'm trying to get better at, because I am a business and I do want, revenue streams, but I refuse to cater. No, I'm a coach. I refuse to tell you what you want to hear. I got to work on being graceful and give that message of the truth and tell you what you need to hear. And that's where Jesus was great, man. He didn't break hearts. He broke habits. He was never demeaning. He was demanding. And so many programs out there like that, they have huge platforms, but man, they need to hit the stuff that kids need to hear. And they need to say the things that coaches need to work on. And sometimes, what I do is not fit for everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
People can't handle it.
For sure.
And so I struggle with that as a business owner because I do need their business. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. Let's, in terms of these workouts, I'd just be curious to know before I forget, best player you ever worked out and why?
Rodney Clark. You remember
Okay.
him?
Yeah. Yeah.
All-American, got scholarship to Arkansas,
Yep.
all freshman, maybe freshman of the year, transferred to Butler. Good year. Went over to Australia, 2-time player of the year, 5'10". To be 5'10", and if you want to add weight to it, to get a Division I scholarship is 0.001%. And to do what he did, and people might say LeBron, Kobe, Chris Paul, 100%. Yeah, no question. Those were the best players I worked out. But I'm just saying with me, you know what I mean? Like in my time, my favorite player, the one that stands out, two of them, Rodney Clark and Maya Moore. I worked out Maya as an 8th grader, senior, college player, and then just recently, before she retired, as an NBA, WNBA future Hall of Famer, but all-star GOAT.
Yeah.
And just everything, man, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Like she prayed before the workout. She addressed her mistakes before. She asked me how I was doing. She thanked me. She was grateful. She showed up early, stayed late. Like, unbelievable. Rodney Clark worked so hard, his feet bleed. He had to change socks and shoes during workouts. And it was just, yeah, this always happens, coach. So he learned how to play with pain because something with his feet, the way they were formed, the harder he went, the more he bled. Like that, to me, that's Muhammad Ali-ish. You don't count your success. You don't count your reps until you're in pain, you're in frustration, and you're in fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so Rodney Clark, nobody's ever heard of him. They expect me to say, oh, Chris Paul, LeBron, Amari. Just because you're great doesn't always give you the benefit of the doubt that you're going to be great. And I'm just a workout guy, but to me, in my world, man, Rodney Clark will always have my affection.
That's great.
Maya Moore, unbelievable.
How do you stay in tune to the game, Ganon? Like what I mean by that is you talked about this a little bit earlier when I asked you about why you love basketball. Like the game's always evolving. The game's always changing. Like you're not given a workout today the same way you gave one 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I got to think this is a big part of your prep in the unseen hours. So for leaders that are listening, this may not apply to the business leader. This may not apply to the guy that run in a church, whatever, but it's got to be the same approach or theory. So give us a little insight to that as to how you're always evolving to make sure you're sharp for your players.
Yeah, I that's a great question. And I think it does apply to every leader, whether you're running a church or running McDonald's or you're a coach. I mean, if you want true joy, then you have to grow. Growth equals joy. If you don't grow, you're stuck. When you're stuck, you're stale. When you're stale, you're not happy. And so that leads to time. Everybody has stuff to do. So to stay on top of things, a lot of people don't have the privilege to do it while they work. A lot of people have to get better and study and grow in their free time. And so I say, how's your time management? My time management, when I have any free time, whether I'm on the plane, I'm not watching Netflix. I'm thinking of what are some questions I can ask Chad Forsay Budenhauser, because I'm about to have breakfast with the Buck staff. What questions can I ask them to where I can take their knowledge on the Mount Olympus of NBA champions and bring it down to a JV team I'm going to work out next month? Like, what can I do to get the right answers? And I asked them, what are current problems you struggle with mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Like, how do you guard pick and roll now? What's the rule on ball movement now with the NBA and the change? I'll go watch a great high school coach in my area. He just won a state championship. Man, let me just go watch. And when I'm there, I'm taking notes. Kevin, it boggles my mind how people come see me, or they go to a sermon, a seminar, or they go to church. Nobody takes notes. Let me say, 90% of people don't take notes. What are they skip? Are they Rain Man? Like, can they Are they a beautiful mind? Because with me, I'm ADD and STUPID. I struggle with reading comprehension. For me, I might even say, hold up, sir. I mean, it boggles my mind how people don't take notes when they actually are trying to go learn.
Mm-hmm.
And you and me are flowing. There's no notes here. There's no cue cards. But this is just from the Holy Spirit. This is just from hours and hours and hours of reading, taking notes, highlighting. You know what I mean? And so how do you stay current? You never stop being a student.
Yeah, right.
You never stop learning. And then you have unbelievable discipline and organization with your time management. Because in that time, you know where to go to see the current trends. You go to the channel in life, not the channel on your Instagram. I mean, Instagram and YouTube, they're not going to show you what's current. Mm-hmm. And people say, man, and I hit people with that. Man, you spend more time and spend more money on your social media than you do your learning. Man, the best way to learn is to go into a practice, Bobby Hurley Sr., and feel his presence. Mm-hmm. Go into a good church, Ron Carpenter Jr., Redemption, and like sit there and allow God to speak to you through him. And that's another skill set that the great leaders have. I mean, I've been around D. Brown and Ray Allen, Manu Ginobili. One thing that stood out with me when I'm breaking bread with them is that they recognize greatness. I'm training Tracy McGrady's son. Like Tracy recognizes important knowledge and drills, and like the great ones recognize great and recognize wisdom and nuggets. And so that's something that as leaders, man, that we have to continue to hold on to. Hey, hold up. That's whether it's a single mom or a homeless guy, right? Like if you recognize wisdom, you got to take that, process that. Maybe that can help, because I truly believe your words create your world. It's your spirit that gives life.
Yeah. And I think another thing in there too, in terms of this, that people need to pay attention to is the question asking piece. I know the older that I've gotten, every night before I go to bed, I have self-reflection questions to assess my day. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong here, Ganon, but I need to have something to measure my progress. And if I have a bad day, I'm not going to knock myself down and consider it wasted. I'm just going to learn from that. And I think, in fact, I'm going to, when I get off this with you, I'm going to send you the article that I sent a lot of friends over New Year's with these questions, these deep thought questions. I think people need to be asking a lot of questions of people in their profession, out of their profession, to continue to grow, to continue to learn. The other thing that really intrigues me about what you do is trust. I think trust is the basis of everything. And I'm really anxious to hear you talk about this, because with what you're doing, you got to have it. And, when you go into something and there's no trust, or you don't have, that relationship built with an individual, how do you achieve it? And are you concerned with any of that? As you're going into another country, as you're going into a gym, down the road, and you haven't met this student. Talk to me a little bit about that, would you please?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me rewind it. I don't do any self-reflection at night, Kev, because my wife does that for me, man. Pillow talk. She'd be like, damn, great strategy. If you don't do it yourself, get a wife that's strong enough to do it. But no, that's a great question. I don't know, man. As I said, I'm always honest, and I can't. I never think they won't trust me.
Yeah,
I don't go in there and think, man, they won't trust me. Has there been a lot of times where they didn't? Yeah, I could list you 15 NBA, WNBA players that through their agents, or they told me themselves, man, I'm not working with you, man. It does, whatever. And I'm okay with that. It doesn't hurt my feelings, because here's the deal, Kev. And it took me a while to embrace this, but I never wavered. Even when I was younger, man, I didn't worry about what people, the white guy in the locker room that sounded corny, that stammered, the senior Ganon Gump, they would call me at times, leader. I would still say it. I got in fights with Alan Watkins. If you're listening, Alan Watkins, you know, Roman Catholic, 6'6", 320. Alan, I'll still get on you about your weight, brother. You got to run the floor. I think because you didn't run the floor, that's why we lost the temple. I'll say that, man. The truth fears no question, Kevin. The truth fears nothing. If you are saying the right thing, if you're saying it from heart, from grace, from empathy, from compassion, if you're working your ass off, sweating, if you're the hardest working in the gym, if you're carrying the gym with energy, if you know what you're saying is correct and you're not giving them one, you're giving them 7, 8, 9, 10 solutions. If you're allowing them to speak, if you're allowing the players to express, if you're not a communistic coach, but if you're doing all the right things, you're working if you've prepared and you trust your work, why should I have any fear of anything?
Right.
Obviously, it takes time to trust, no question.
Right.
If things don't work, I'll circle back around. I'll spend more time, use technology to build trust, use time to build trust. Sometimes you whisper to guys, sometimes you yell at guys, sometimes you praise guys in private, sometimes you criticize guys in public. I always believe praise in public, criticize in private, but if that doesn't work, flip it.
Right.
I remember Richard Hamilton never really connected with Larry Brown until Larry Brown understood that, you know what, Rip doesn't like to be yelled at or even coached in front of the team. And when he did that, him and Rip became really good. So my point is, I never even fear that, nor do I fear anything, because I work so hard at bringing what's right. And I open up my life. And Kevin, after this podcast, anything that offended you or anything that I said that wasn't correct or I can get better at, feel free to hammer me with some bullets, because I always want, hey man, what can I do better? Right. I always ask that after anything I do, what can I do better? Hey, Side note, Phil Beckner was really open to let me know how I need to get better. So God bless you, Phil. You made me better. He's different.
Right. Well, and I think the thing that I was just curious because of the whole dynamics of our workout. So I hope you know where I was going with that. And I guess what I get from you out of that too, Ganon, and this is another thing that's important for leaders, in my opinion, is you're really focused on the things that you can control versus the things that you can't control. You know, you're controlling your prep, you're controlling your passion, you're controlling your work ethic, you're controlling ways that you can communicate and how to pick up on that. So I think that's really important. You're trying to be the best version of yourself, not being lip service. So I think that's good. Hey, before we get into rapid fire to wrap up and talk about some of the other things you're doing, tell me how you're growing. We like to talk about books and podcasts, always talking about, favorite books on here and putting plugs. Got any good ones that you'd recommend right now, or anything you're reading right now?
Yeah, I'm reading, I got it with me right here. It's called Daily Wisdom by Julie Fortner. I just got it for Christmas. Basketball Psychology is what her company. That's great. A devotional on everything that I believe in. It's holistic, stories, parables, different words that she uses to teach the same things that we're trying to get people to do and to be better at. Drop the Mic by T.D. Jakes, long book. And then, podcast, more so Stephen Furtick, Elevation Church. I'll listen to Ron Carpenter. I have his app, and he has something called The Vault. And then I have an app called Blinkist, where it's audio books that are, wrapped up in a blink. It's 9-10 minutes, and it goes through the whole books. It trims the fat off the book. So I listen to that, and then I take notes and highlight stuff that applies to me. Phil Beckner's newsletter is great. And the accounts that on Twitter that give me some meat, I'll write stuff down or screenshot it.
Yeah, for sure. Good. I know you don't know the other 79 guests. You mentioned one earlier, Chad Forcier. We had him on here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we did. Chad was good, really good. I think he was one of the earlier ones, but I don't expect you to know the other 78. Well, Phil, so now you're down to 77. But who do we need to have on the pod, Ganon, that that we haven't had on yet? Who would you recommend that we get on here?
Great question. Two that come to mind: Scott Savor.
Don't know him. No.
Centric, unique, I'll send you his information. Kevin Eastman.
He was our first guest.
Oh, well then you don't need me. Another, I mean, you want shiny objects to an extent. You want celebrities, or do you want like real good stories that will impact? Because
as long as people add value, it doesn't matter to me, you know.
You got to have this guy on. His name is Corey Harris.
Okay.
And I won't tell you his whole story, but basically drug dealer, homeless, worked for Stephen Marbury in China, for the Beijing Sharks, pro coach over there. And now he's the GM, head basketball guy at Shoot 360 in Atlanta. But he's an NBA, skills coach. Great, just a great story. Somebody that, has literally worked his way up. I've been mentoring him for 15 years, and I'm not giving you him because I mentor. I'm saying like he would teach you something. He would be great for your listeners, and it's an unbelievable, inspirational story. But nobody's ever heard of him. His name is Corey Harris.
All right, well, good. We'll see what happens there. Well, hey, let's go rapid fire questions, or if you got to take a little extra time, that's fine too. But 3-pointers here, so I'm going to be dishing it off to you now. You get to shoot some threes. All right. So
you want me to shoot with my left hand or right hand?
Yeah, there you go. Either way, man. Whatever. Just knock them down. Number one, if people could just take hold of one thing. I know it's tough here, but one thing from this talk. What's the one thing you want them to grab hold on to?
Real. Be real. Okay. Be yourself. Be yourself unless you suck. And if you suck, you got to get better. But you got to suck. You got to know who you are.
Second one, if you could have come over here today and been behind the mic and asked Ganon a question that I did not ask, what question would have you asked?
What's the one thing that will destroy your life?
Good. Care to elaborate?
What's your biggest kryptonite?
Is that, are you saying that would be for people to make sure they ask themselves in general too, to know that, have a self-awareness?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like the number one killer of who would you think the number one killer of teenagers is?
You're asking me to like what that is?
Yeah. What would kill, like literally physically, what's the number one killer of teenagers?
Is it suicide?
Suicide. Number two is distracted driving.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm mentoring a teenager, why wouldn't I bring that up?
Mm-hmm.
Like that will kill. Like a lot of kids don't know that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
okay.
I have to be self-aware enough that as Ganon Baker, I didn't know this early on, but now I know. I mean, I got some life in me. I know but I know one thing that will destroy my life if I let it. Mm-hmm. It's the choices that I make to this one thing. And my wife knows, God knows.
Right. Good.
So I would ask me that, see if I would voice it. But as I said, everybody doesn't need to know that.
Right.
But everybody does have something. That's what's important. So set boundaries and strength so that doesn't kill you. Kryptonite, you're Superman, you're Superwoman, man. You got to know what kills you. So stay away from that crap.
I like it. Last one, finally, name of the show, Good Stuff. Give us some good stuff here in closing or anything that's appropriate on your mind right now.
Life is short. So if you can, easier said than done, wake up, do what you love, surround yourself with people that love you, and then spend time with the ones that you love. Mm-hmm. There's so many time stealers out there, and time is priceless. Everybody has it, whether you're almost dead, whether you're at the top of the world, we all have the same time. And it's how you spend that time determines what you take out of life. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Write that one down. I can't believe I said that. That's good stuff. Let me give my own self a high five there.
Hey, let's talk.
That's narcissistic. That's narcissistic. I apologize to everybody out there that thinks I'm self-loathing.
That's all right. Hey, let's talk a little bit. Just can you tell us about some of the, just in general right now, your focus as we close here, just with the business agenda and maybe some of these programs that you're offering so people have an idea about that, please.
Yeah, thank you for that, Kevin. I appreciate it. Basically, I am really trying to go out there and be the answer and the solution for a coach. So if you want to become a coach, we have everything you need to get you on your journey, to keep you on your journey, and to put you in the right position to be a successful coach. We can help you get a job. We can help you get an agent. We can connect you, but we also can give you the information holistically to help you impact. And it's all truth. I have an unbelievable Rolodex of relationships. I've been blessed and lucky enough to spend my whole life with the game. And so, we do a great job, player and coach mentoring, and then again, helping them explore their career. So if you're interested in that, please feel free. And then I'm starting to do some speaking. I'm starting to speak to businesses, to organizations, to help them be a better leader, to help them overcome some of the anxieties and stresses and problems and frustrations and obstacles that they may face in their environment, that I use, that I can help them give solutions to it because of who I've been in front of and the lessons I've learned from some of the best of the best. I can give a fresh new perspective to some of their leaders in their program. So I've enjoyed the speaking circuit here recently, and I like to do more of that. So if you're interested, we're on social media. Google us. I'm easy to get in touch with, and I always return messages. I try to do it in a timely manner, and I would love to connect with you.
Love it. Where can they find you on social media? What platforms?
Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I'm not Snapchatting yet, man. I don't know about that. WeChat, if you're in Asia, WeChat.
There you go.
WhatsApp.
Well, hey, man, this was great, Ganon. And I really appreciate the time that we were able to spend here today. There's so much in here. I love your enthusiasm. I love what you've done for the game, where you're at, in terms of your faith, and then why you truly do what you do. I know it's a round ball, but just in the bit that I knew about you from afar and what I'm getting to know more about you, it just goes beyond that. So thanks for everything that you do. And thanks again for spending some time with us today on the podcast.
Kev, it's an honor. I mean, you can have anybody that you want on this thing. You pick me. So I thank you for that. Great questions. I thought you brought out some good stuff in me, and you got good stuff. So Kevin, thank you, man.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. As always, we appreciate it. Head on over to those platforms. Check out Ganon. I mean, if you don't have a ton of energy and you're not juiced up after this episode, then you probably need to check yourself because something's probably wrong. As always, by now, reach out to me, goodstuffkevin@gmail.com. I love to hear what you think about the episode, and for sure could drop some nuggets to Ganon as well. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, good stuff.